Hey, what's going on? Welcome back to another episode of BurlyFishing. Today we're on the water. We're gonna get some fishing in here in a little bit, but I figured now would be a good time to give you guys a quick run through and sort of a comparison of two different kayak setups we have here. So we have my Hobie Pro Angler and we're comparing with my buddy Paul's Old Town Predator MX. Both are loaded up, ready to fish, anchor systems, fish finders, everything you could possibly need. We've done so very differently, I would say. So we're gonna be looking at two price range differences, some pretty big differences, stratospheric differences, as my guy Paul would say. So we're gonna look at that. Hobie, you're looking fully rigged like I have set up here. You're probably around 4,500, I would say. And then you said 2,000? Less than two.
Something like that.
So like 1,800, 2,000?
With electronics.
With electronics, you know, everything included. This being paddle, this being pedal, you know, are they completely different mediums? I don't think so. I mean, it's still a boat, right? So it depends on your preferences when you're fishing and what you're gonna be looking for, but we wanna give you guys some sort of ins and outs on how we rig this. You'll also notice Paul's got a lot more DIY setup on his, whereas mine is like more Hobie standard adapters and things like that. Again, all based on preferences, all based on your means, really, like financially how much you want to spend on a boat, or if you just prefer to build stuff yourself, which I know you do. I know you love doing that. So we're gonna go handheld on this. We'll give you guys a quick walkthrough on both boats and we're gonna get after some fish. Hey, if this is your first time stopping by the channel, please hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you can see when we post more videos. Back to the content. All right, guys, so we're gonna kind of go just bow to stern on this thing. So I'll take you guys through some of the major important upgrades that we've made to make fishing more fun, right? Really just make your day on the water less frustrating, more simple, right? Anything that can make your life a little better. So starting up front on the Hobie Pro Angler, obviously we got this huge cockpit. You got important things like keeping warm, wiping your butt, you know, whatever you gotta do, extra plastics, bug spray, a fish scale, keys, basically everything I just toss in there when I hit the water. What you'll see on the inside, you pop this open. These are the rod tubes that run all the way forward. I don't really use these anymore ever since I installed the wheels on the back. But if you want, in the 12, you can store 4 rods all the way up through the front to protect them. If you have the 14-foot edition, you can store 6 rods, which is pretty money. But up front here, we've got this bow-mounted battery. It keeps the battery off of the bottom. This is a Hobie kit that you guys can get separately. Ran the wiring from the fish finder, which is all the way back yonder. And what we have there is underneath, there's actually the transducer mount, which it's got this pretty cool setup on the Hobie where it actually retracts. And I'll show you our retractor setup in there. It's kind of like Hobie's like a big sailing company. So you got a lot of sailing kind of situations going on where we got the pull strings where we can pull up the rudder, your skeg, and the transducer as well. So some cool stuff like that, but battery setup right there. From here, moving back, we've got our track mount systems on the front. You can also lock down some tools. So we got the GoPro on a Scotty mount right here. We've got the H-rails running back. Love the H-rail system with Hobie. So you can get all sorts of different accessories. What I use the most is probably this bin. We've got our cup holder over there. And then we've got the Ram track mount right here for the Lowrance Hook 2. We got the 5-inch model, which wires right through the hull with this really cool in-hull system. So you don't really have to drill any holes in your boat to get most of these accessories on. H-rail obviously drill free, got the track mount, and then the wiring, it comes with these pre-drilled setups here where you can run the wires right through. And you've got these little like rubber gaskets to keep it watertight with that cable running in there. And that runs all the way up front through to the battery and back to my transducer, which is right under here. So it's way down there. There's the wiring for the transducer, runs to the underneath. And this is the Guardian system is what's on the bottom. I've shown this in a previous video, so you guys want to watch some of my like off the water walkthroughs and get more of the ins and outs of it, you can check that out. I'll leave the link in the description below. Under here, you've got tons of storage and these nice little like non-slip pads. So I throw like my spinner box there. You saw I had my plastics all up in here. And they don't go anywhere. I can sit right on top of it. So lots of under seat storage. They also make these little drawer systems you can put together. Haven't done that yet. We'll see if I do it another time. I kind of like my setup here. Cheap little totes to carry everything you need. Then we have the in-hull storage. So what I've done with this, one of my favorite accessories actually, is this little drop-in bucket. So you take everything you want to carry with you, drop it right in. I've got all my camera gear in here. Got a little DIY camera mod with some old tackle boxes. So there's the batteries on a charger, and then extra mics, headlight, you know, just different stuff I might need. All fits right in here, no problem, and stays waterproof. Moving back, I have to get you on both sides of this, but we have the Burly Pro side bros. So this is the jig bucket. You can see you can hang anything with a hook from the sides here. Check out the install video in the description. I'll leave a link below. And then we have, you know, just any of your like smaller size tackle bins. So this is like my finesse stuff. I'll just keep it one side. On the other side here, what we have is the other, if you buy the dual Burly Pro side bro kit, you get the jig bucket, and then you get the sort of multi-tool setup. So got a smaller bin here. I usually just throw like lures I'm not currently using. There's like a little single worm. And then you got the plier storage, which is really nice. Get that out of here. On the inside, I've also got these Groove Fishing, G-R-U-V Fishing. I'll leave the link below too, but this is the jig launching pad, and then this is the hard bait launching pad. So you can basically take any loose baits with the hook exposed rather than leaving it on the bottom of your boat. You're just gonna stuff it into these guys, and I've got them on both sides of the seat, as you can see there. Moving back. So now we get to the groovy landing gear. So that, again, install video in the link below, would be the wheel system. Those come out and they'll pop up while I'm on the water. But honestly, if I'm not going into too skinny of water, I'll just leave the wheels deployed. Adds a little extra flotation with the wheels with having air in them below. It makes it easy to get on and off the water really quick. We've got a rear cargo storage, so I have, you know, the shock cord here, keeping everything in place. Enough room to store just about anything, as you can see. So we've got our meals for the day. We've got, I don't know, 1 billion pieces of tackle. We'll keep our backwater assault paddle back here. That is just if I get into too skinny of water, that's how I'll actually get myself to, you know, push off or paddle out a little bit if I need to. That way I don't have to bring a whole oar system with me. The track mount on the Boondocks Groovy landing gear. So the track mount runs the entire width of the boat, which is fantastic. So you can see here I've got the Scotty mounted holder for a rod holder. So I can troll, or in this case, just another place to store like my net or an extra rod I'm not using if I'm not trolling. And then you can attach any other number of mounts. We'll probably get like a nice GoPro mount. Looking at probably like the RAM extender arm for that. So be something we do later. And then moving on back, we actually have our pretty rad battery system back here. I'm gonna show you guys. So this little 8-inch hatch in the newer Hobies is pretty much useless because the skeg system puts this big rib in here, so you really don't have any room to do anything. But with what we're going to show in a second, the PowerPole micro anchor, we ended up picking up an extra battery for that can mount way back here in the back. And this amazing setup by Burly Pro, again, it's called the Batarang, and it allows us to hold up to 2 batteries. So this is Burly Pro branded battery. It's the FPV Power 12 volt 7 amp hour. So it's a smaller battery. It's super light, weighs like nothing compared to the front battery that I have. It's only a couple amp hours smaller. That one's like a 9.5 amp. This is a 7. They do also make a 17 if you just want like a really big battery to last all day. And then we can just drop this into this hatch, close her on up, lock it up watertight. That saves me a ton of wiring, a lot of weight with having a bigger battery, and I don't have to wire it all the way to the front and tie into the other battery. And it's not too expensive a setup there. All right, so back here, what we've got is our Hobie made adapter for the PowerPole micro anchor. So we got the micro anchor all wired up. Can move our little anchor system right there, nice and easy. You know, perfect for shallow water anchoring. Pretty much, I think you get like 6.5 foot of clearance. This is the 8 foot anchor pole. And yeah, it was one of the builds that we just recently did. links in the description below. So probably the two of the most expensive parts on this entire boat are going to be your Mirage Drive right here. This is the Mirage Drive 180. This is the one where you have forward and reverse. Not a 360. I thought about upgrading to 360 when it came out this year, or within the past year, whenever it did come out. But honestly, this does everything I could possibly need. And it wasn't worth the extra cash at this moment. So this works out great for me, and luckily for you guys, if you're looking for a Hobie right now and it's got the 180 drive or older, it's probably a bit cheaper now that that 360 is out, so it's making that a bit more manageable. So that's huge, very important. So that's the big part of the pedal. It's very quiet, a little compared to like a prop system, which is nice. Forward reverse is a little more difficult than the prop system, but I mean, it gets the job done, gets done quietly. I can manage myself in rivers, no problem, which for a boat this big is saying something. And then finally we get to the seat, which as you can see, just peeled that off, but that's not important. We don't litter. So my stickers are gone. So this is the seat. Seat is a big part of the reason that I bought this boat. This is one of the most comfortable seats I've ever sat on in any kayak ever, and I've had a kayak very similar to Paul's, so that's saying something too, because that seat is also very comfortable. But it's got this nice breathable mesh here that's also a little bit padded, so it's comfortable for like all day fishing. Folds up and down. You do have a little lumbar support, which is kind of ridiculous. So we got a BOA attachment right here where we can just tighten that up, get a little more support in the lumbar section of your spine. So the booty support section also lifts up, and then we have these side adjustments on the handles where I can crank that to move the front or back, the front, so I can move the back of the seat or the booty section of the seat up or down. And then if you want to move it down, you just push the handle forward and then hit that minus section. And if you're leaning back on it, it'll just move with you. So very important. Like we've said this on our podcast before, but if you guys are looking for a kayak, probably one of the most important things you look for is the seat, right? And that's, again, that's a big part of why I bought this thing. So that's my walkthrough. Let's take a look at Paul's walkthrough. All right, guys, next up, we're going to take a look at Paul's Old Town Predator MX. I'm going to have him give you guys a walkthrough on that. Again, look at kind of the differences. We got some like DIY versus factory made type equipment. Both have pros and cons. And again, we're at two different price points. So just making a comparison so you guys can see some of the differences of what you might go for when you pick out your own kayak.
We're looking at a Predator MX. It's a 12-foot boat. MX stands for mixed water. The reason I went with that is because I know that I fish in a lot of different pieces of water. So skinny water, deep water, tons of rivers, ponds, you name it. So I figured this is probably gonna be the boat for me. Super stable. And then one of my favorite parts about it is it's super open. And at the time, this is a little bit older boat, this was a little bit unique, so super customizable. So being able to unscrew these plates, mix them up as needed. So like, you know, right now I've got my electronics here on the left-hand side. I've got a little Scotty that I can pop over the end, clip in here real easy. If I wanted that on the other side, it's as easy as, you know, moving the cords and then unscrewing this plate and swapping it out with this one. Starting in the front, sealed storage. What I really keep in here, my extra bow line. When we're doing camping trips and things like that, this is where, like, obviously waterproof bag in the back to keep water secure, but this is anything that I need to get a hold of during the day. This is also where I keep my battery for my electronics. And as you can see here, what I've done is I've got these really cool ports. You actually can just unscrew these and move the cords in and out. So whenever I really don't want any electronics in here, so if we're river fishing and I know the water and I really don't want this in the way, it's actually pretty easy for me to move cords in and out. Or if I ever swapped, bought some new electronics, pretty easy to switch. And this also keeps the boat waterproof. So got the holes tapped. You don't get like an ugly hole. You don't get glue or anything like that. A really easy way. I think there's like $1 or $2 on Amazon. Moving forward again, super open cockpit, which is one of my favorite things about it. I mean, this boat is stable enough for you to stand up inside, essentially twirl around as needed, reach into the back when needed, which is honestly just the flexibility. That's one of my favorite things. Similar to what Jeff's got on his boat, I have Velcroed. You can see these come on and off as needed because sometimes you beat them up. Instead of, with the exception of some like big hooks and things like that, when I know I'm going to be using something a lot, I can just poke the hooks right in here. I got a couple on the side as well. Just a really easy way for you to keep something accessible without having, you potentially stepping on it. I always have a waterproof bag clipped into the seat. Bag, snacks, anything waterproof. Anything I want to have quick and handy during the day but don't want to get wet goes in there, slides under. I do always keep it clipped into the boat so that should you capsize, you're not losing anything. I do like to keep a couple of boxes, typically waterproof ones, or at least mostly waterproof ones here. It lets me keep a lot of stuff easy, and then I just let them slide around. It doesn't bother me. Never had a problem with it before. It's kind of one of my cheap and easy ways to do things. You do have some box storages here on both sides, as you can see. I use them, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Box like that goes in there real quick, real easy. I usually do keep a net, I don't always. I do keep it shot corded on here, usually through the back here. I don't always use a net, sometimes it just lives back here. I like to keep, I'm tackle storage, I know a lot of people are real particular. I'm really not. I have a waterproof bag if I'm have a lot of tackle that I leave in the front. That's like my fly fishing sling pack. Something like this is just what I take like pretty much wherever I'm going. I can fit anything I need in here, right? I've got, this is like a $4 or $5 box. Tons of plastics. I've got different boxes for different situations. Top water, pike box, which is one of my favorites. And then I've got my Ned rig, soft plastics. What I really like to do is the night before, what I'll do is I'll basically go into my giant tackle bag, figure out what I know I'm going to use, what I might want to use, and I load these up. If I know it's going to be a day where I don't know the depth, or we're at varying depth because we're all the way from 60 to like 5, I've got every kind of crankbait in here if I want it. So that usually rides back here. Water bottle, hot or cold, kind of depends on the day. I also have what I think is a little bit unique, something a little homemade. You can see I've got a clip right here in the front, or a cleat here in the front, where you can lock your line out. You can see that cord runs all the way back through here, leads to my, we were talking about the DIY, another cleat, and really this is just to hold the anchor point at the back of the boat. And what I'm doing is, I've got these different size chains. This is like a drag anchor, right? So what I like to do a lot of times in the river, you wanna keep moving through the water. I don't have a pedal system where I can really control how fast I'm going in the water. So what I'm doing is, I'm clipping on or off to keep my weight higher or lower. I got these coated so they don't, in plastic, I did that myself, so they don't hook up on anything underneath the water. And then what you're basically doing is, this just hangs out the back, and then with the cleat in the front, I just clip it and unclip it to adjust the depth as needed. So that's dragging behind me, and then I just use that as a regular anchor now these days. I've got the pulley system here, which is, if you know you're on a lake and you're gonna be out all day, preferable. This will get the job done though. Really easy transport, and lately I've just been leaving it on. I did put on some shock cord back here for storage. A lot of times I have a cooler because I'm mostly off and trying to keep fish. So that's a great place to keep a cooler. You're not gonna lose it. Lunch, beverages, whatever it is you want. This right here, this is an older version of the Predator. It does not come with rod holders. It has tip protectors in the front, as you can see. So your rod tip would lay this way, and then these tip protectors, your tip's gonna hang out right here and make sure that it stays in the boat, not floating around. I have never used them. I've considered taking them off. There's a gentleman who lives like an hour or two north of me. He actually makes this custom piece. You just take your plate off. Typically, you'll have a plate just like the ones in front that run here on the sides. You pop those off, you put these custom made ones on, the honeycomb. You got 3 rod holders. I can still stick my rods all the way back, the reels all the way up to here. You store them in the bottom of the boat, whatever you need. I stick my fly rods back here all the time, not in the way. Super cheap, super effective. Love to get this guy on the podcast one day because he makes these with minimal equipment, like in his garage. They're freaking cool. You got, oh, and the other thing that's really nice about these, they come with the Scotty holes already mounted back here. So if you want to still have the ability to, you know, do some custom stuff, pop your rod holders or whatever else you want back here, cameras, you name it. Super, I mean, 75 bucks, shipped to your door. I got it in 2 days. Really cool, super easy. I do not use very often the the bungee holder back here for your paddle. I like the clip. I think the clip is very secure. By far the fastest and easiest. And then, yeah, it's just super easy to install. So I put that on. I think that actually comes with both, and there's pre-tap screws so you can move it to either side. That's pretty much it. Simple boat, some homemade stuff on here. But I will say what I like about this boat the most is it's super flexible. The seat is fantastic. Flips up when needed. You can keep it out of the way if you want. Never had a problem with it. Sitting in it all day, every day. I like the pad in the back. Keep a warm coat. Keep waterproof, so just some frog togs in case you're getting uncomfortably wet and you need to get back inside and save yourself. I also keep just basic essentials back here. You know, kind of the stuff you think you might need but don't. You know, you may or may not need. So this is just emergency storage. But again, kind of a bare bones boat, but what you're really paying for the seat, which is super high quality, and then you're paying for the open deck, and then really the hull. Super stable, tracks unbelievably well, and again, for the money, you're not quite, they do make a pedal version, but for the paddle version, for the money, it doesn't seem like a value. 1,300 bucks when they're brand new seems like a lot. I don't know if you're gonna get a boat that's gonna be as durable, is gonna be as stable, is gonna track as well, and give you the ability to, you know, DIY yourself into the exact situation that you want. So, solid boat. What was the weight? 100 pounds fully loaded. I think it's 80, 85 unloaded. Not too bad. Easy to load in a truck by yourself. And that's the rig.
So that's our walkthrough on both boats, hopefully giving you a decent comparison of kind of what you're getting for the money. Again, if you're doing the Hobie, all rigged out, all accessories, it's like 4,500 bucks. If you have the money, awesome, do it. I think it makes life really easy in 95% of circumstances.
Oh, dude, for sure.
For sure. Like, I've had it on rivers. I mean, you can do it anywhere. If you guys are looking to spend less than $2,000 and you're okay with doing some DIYs, or even, you know, maybe we can get Homeboy on the podcast and talk a little bit about, you know, give him a shout out at least, but hopefully give you guys an idea of how you can get a rig set up like that for rod holders in the back, plus the Scotty mounts. That's pretty sweet. River anchors, easy DIYs, stuff like that. You can get away with a ton and knock it out for less than $2,000 with a solid kayak like that. And it's, again, they're both standing. You can stand on top of them. I mean, you can stand and fish in any position on both these kayaks. Very stable. And they're both sit on top kayaks. The main difference is just pedal versus paddle. They're the same length too. I think this is like
12.
This is 12. Yeah, so mine's 12. That's 12. I mean, you're looking at same size, close to the same width. I think the Hobie's got width by like another 4 inches or so. Yeah. Just a little bit wider. And Paul mentioned the weight on his kayak too. Mine is 587 pounds dry. No, it's
not light.
It's not light. It's at least 120 empty. So add in the batteries, the rigging, all that. You can see why I have wheels on it, right? So yeah, that's it, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you guys have any questions on these 2 kayak setups, comment below. Check out all the links in the description. We'll have tons of different stuff for like my build outs. We're working on DIYs with Paul's build outs. We'll have to reverse engineer a few of them.
Doing the duck blind.
Doing the duck blind, yeah. So I mean, duck blind, the anchors, this rear rod holder situation, the battery, like, we'll give you guys anything you want. Just let us know in the comments. And if you like the video, smash that like, hit subscribe, ring that notification bell so you can see when we post more videos, and go check out the BurlyFishing podcast and give us 5 stars. Drop a comment there as well. You know, you guys can follow us on Instagram at BurlyFishing, same thing on Facebook at BurlyFishing, and we'll see you guys out on the water.